All right, everybody, this is part 3 for Camper 10.0 or Camper Shell 10.0 update. I've been getting a lot done, so these updates are coming close to daily. And here we go. So probably the biggest thing is this new roof technique that I used. It worked out beautifully. I'm going to talk about that in detail. For some of you who've seen the last 2 lives, some of this might be repetitive, so I apologize. I've got the door mostly done, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Well, let's take this aside here for a second. Okay, so real quick, just to catch everybody up. So I tried a new roof technique, which essentially compressed 1/4-inch plywood on each side to where it would kind of form a natural arc. It's all closed up now, but basically the plywood was wedged against this outside piece of material here. And the goal of that was to use that natural, the strength of an arch to essentially avoid having to build a pretty elaborate beam structure. And my plan was to stiffen it up, I was going to laminate or glue together a bunch of 1/4-inch strips like you guys see right there. Now this was something new I've never done before, and in short, it turned out really, really good. I couldn't be happier. The roof is super strong. And so what I did is, I think these are about 2 1/4 wide or so. This was just scrap, but these are 1/4-inch pieces. And once I got the roof in place, I basically hand cut each of those pieces to where they just barely fit. You guys can see up there in that little corner. So basically when I kind of compressed and snapped those pieces into place, they followed the same curve as a roof. I put construction adhesive on each corner and just kind of built them up. And this is a total of 4 plus the roof, so 1 1/4 inch thick. And then as you guys could see back there, I added just 1 layer in the middle and the back, and then 1 layer up here. And in short, the roof is super strong, and this technique worked out really well. Just to recap, one of the big advantages is to get a really nice arc manually, I guess you would say. It's challenging. It always tends to work better if you take something like a piece of plywood and compress it evenly on the sides. It will form much more of a natural arc. So that was part of the impetus, and then obviously reduced material and construction time. My concern was if it would be strong enough, but that concern has been laid to rest because this thing is solid. So I talked about this roof technique quite a bit. Hopefully I covered it. If you have any other questions, throw them in, but I'll move on from there. What else I've done is I added a little porthole window in the back there, as you guys can see. And just for context of how this camper will set, for my friend Paul's truck, the top of the cab lines up to roughly about this line right here. So this window will mostly be above the cab, but it will be overlapped just a little bit. But that should allow him, a little light to come in, and also he can, look toward the front of the vehicle when he's in the camper. I've been laying down some of that Bondo. Forgot what it's called, but it's a Bondo brand, and it's the one that has the little fiberglass fibers in it. And I've been using that. Got a little bit of finish sanding to do there. And then, let me pull this, sorry about that. So when I put the roof on, I had built up each of these side walls, but this opening here was all the way to the top of this. So what I did is I glued together a big stack of cedar, and I cut the top arc, and then I cut the bottom arc, and I glued this in place. I used some pocket hole screws. So this piece is totally solid. On these edges here, I put a hardwood frame, okay, and I put hardwood stops for the door. Now, the reason I use hardwood here is for strength. Cedar, you know, obviously I love cedar. It has a lot of good qualities, but the one thing it doesn't do really well is hold screws. So this door frame needs to hold the screws for the hinges for the door, and then also the lock set will be embedded in the door frame. So I wanted a hardwood just to give it extra strength. And I'll talk about the door construction, but the door also used a lot of hardwood. I mean, arguably, you know, at least here in the West where I'm at, most houses, the door frames are, you know, fir or pine. So in some regards, one could almost make an argument that this door frame is stronger than your residential one. I mean, there's some other debates on various topics on that, but it is going to be very strong. And, you know, if one of you guys were to build yours, I know hardwood is expensive and heavy, but for the door frame, I definitely recommend it. Okay, so obviously the door is not mounted yet, but I am working rapidly toward that. And here is the door. Now the door is about 31 inches wide, so it's about the size of your standard interior door. So for example, that garage door right there, obviously it's much shorter. It's not finished sanded or anything, so don't judge it too much. And I'm gonna add a little bit of decoration on this to give it some character. But let's take a look at the back and you guys can see the construction. So there's a porthole window in this door. And the door frame is also made out of hardwood. I believe this was maple. Before I assembled it, I actually went and I've got to cut the cedar part, but I actually cut out the grooves here for the hinges. I'm going to put 2 of those in. I'll talk about that in a moment. And made just a simple hardwood door frame, again, for it to be strong, maintain its stability. This is going to use just a residential lock set. It's going to be one of those key combo lock sets, so it's going to be just like something you'd put in your house. That's a big chunk of hardwood there that lock set will reside in, again, for strength and stability. And I'll insulate the inside of the door at a later time. And then the outside, I just, you know, layered it with, or skinned it with that same 1/2-inch cedar as you guys have seen in the rest of the build. I'm going to do some decorations on it and everything in a little bit just to make it look a little nicer, but that's it in a nutshell. Now, obviously, you guys can see above the door, there is an arch. So what I actually did, it actually worked out nice. This piece right here is the piece that was cut off from the bottom of this. So what I will do is this, and I'll sand it up and make it look nice, but that will actually sit on top of the door there, so that will mesh up with that top arch and give it a little bit of extra style and head clearance. So, but just speaking briefly, in a nutshell, that is it. Actually, one more thing. This piece up underneath here, so when I made the roof, I had the 1/4-inch ply extend out. This piece underneath here is actually a piece of cedar. I planed it down to about 3/8 of an inch, and cedar's pretty amazing. I chose a section that had minimal knots. It had some in there, but I planed it down and I was able to actually bend it right in place to match this arc. I'll put some trim and stuff around it and make it a little bit nicer. But all right, guys, short video, making tons of progress on this build. The day-to-day progress is going to kind of slow down because I'm going to roll into some finish work, and then I'll actually coat the roof, coat the outside. I'll be using a PPG product for the outside finish, and I'll seal the inside also. But everything is going smooth. I'm super happy with it, and I appreciate all of your support and comments. And let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much.